Hi, my name is Morgan Towner, and my partner Gabrielle and I did our adaption presentations on hearing impairment. Some of the challenges of people who have hearing impairment are they have a hard time with the acoustic and background noises in a setting. They tend to sit in front of the classroom, and they sometimes cannot hear crucial information. Often, when in social settings, they pretend they can hear and will laugh, nod, or smile, so they are not embarrassed by the fact that they may not be catching on. There are the four types of hearing loss. The four types of hearing loss are conductive, which sounds cannot get through the outer and middle ear part. The sounds often may be harder to hear, and soft sounds may be harder to hear, and louder sounds may be muffled. The second one is sensory neural, which happens after the inner ear is damaged. There's problems with the nerve pathways from the inner ear to the brain, and this is the most common type of permanent hearing loss. The third one is mixed, and this is conductive and sensory neural hearing loss that happens at the same time, meaning that both are damaged in the outer or middle ear and in the inner ear or the nerve pathway to the brain. The last one is central, which damages or impairs the nerves or nuclei of the central nervous system. Okay, so the data and statistics for the hearing loss in the United States is approximately 48 million Americans have some type of hearing loss. 1 in 5 people would benefit from the hearing aids, and people with hearing loss wait an average of 7 years before getting help. The prevalence of hearing loss increases with age, and approximately 2 out of 3 of every 1,000 children in the United States are born with a detectable level of hearing loss. Some children who do not receive early interventions or early practice towards their hearing loss have to pay more for their special education. These are the hearing loss levels in which people can hear. Some people can only hear slightly to mid, others hear moderate, others have severe hearing loss, and profound, which is basically deaf. Adaptations for the hearing impairments. Strategies and adaptations to help people with hearing loss is to incorporate speaking with signing, listening and receiving communication, writing and reading activities to help people with hearing impairment better understand content and activities. Also, another adaptation is to let others know about their disability, and this will help the best with communication and figuring out which is the best way for them to learn. And then be careful around loud environments and listening to music or the TV loud. You want to protect your ears and the hairs in the like middle, inner, and outer ear as much as possible so you don't damage it as much as it already is. And then make sure that the school environment tends to the individual and the acoustics around the room. Adaptations and strategies used to accommodate students is understanding signing, listening, and reading activities need to be incorporated into the lessons. Partnering with parents of students who have hearing impairment is important so that vocabulary and language is reflected and reinforced in any given situation. Reinforcing lessons by using visual aids, giving students with hearing loss extra time on tests, and using a microphone to ensure that students with hearing loss are able to comprehend everything being said. As a teacher, I would always make sure that students who have hearing impairment in my class would be tended to, and that I would help them if they had any questions. I would make sure that after every activity or lesson I provide, they are accommodated for what they need in order to successfully master the lesson. My partner, Gabrielle, told me a little bit about her life, and I guess she was born with a hearing impairment, and she figured out on her own that she couldn't hear. And then the doctors and and her parents helped her throughout the years after. I was really inspired by her story and learned a lot, and I hope that you guys can take a moment to read the PowerPoint notes that she made. And then Gabrielle, there's more personal experiences. She talks about her hearing aid and the transmitter in left ear and receiving it on the right, a receiver on the right. One of her left ear or her right ear is almost completely deaf, and the other one is only a little. So she definitely has hearing impairment, but she learns a lot and she makes sure that her students know so she and her students can cooperate together as much as possible. And she informed me about the 504 plan throughout her education, and a student with a 504 plan generally is considered a general education student who has access to the general education curriculum. I thought that was most important because I believe any student with physical disability should be incorporated in the general education curriculum as much as possible. And yeah, overall, I had a really exciting time and I learned a lot about hearing impairment. And I'm glad that my partner shared her experience with me. And I hope you enjoy reading Gabrielle's personal experiences just as much as I did. Here are references, and thank you for listening to my presentation.